All right, let's talk about snacking. You know, that thing most of us do every single day, and let's be honest, it often comes with a little side of guilt. But what if I told you the key to better snacking has nothing to do with willpower? Seriously, it's actually all about understanding the science of your own brain. We're going to dig into how just a few simple strategies can completely transform your relationship with snacks. So let's get right into it.
So, you know that afternoon slump when you start reaching for a snack? Well, if you do that, you are definitely not alone. I mean, not by a long shot. Check out this number. A whopping 95% of us are regular snackers. That's according to research from King's College London. So this isn't some rare habit, no way. It's pretty much a fundamental part of how almost everyone eats.
Okay, so if pretty much all of us are snacking, does that mean snacking itself is the problem? Well, the science is really clear on this one. Nope. Snacking on its own is a totally neutral behavior. It's not the act of snacking, it's how you snack that matters. It's all about the quality. That's the real key to whether it helps or hurts your health goals. You could have a great, healthy diet otherwise, but if the snacks are poor quality, they can really undermine all that good work.
All right, so if we're going to make better choices, we first have to understand what's driving those choices in the first place, right? So for our first section, let's dive in and decode the science behind why we crave the things we do.
I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever been there? You're like halfway through a bag of chips, and you suddenly realize, wait a minute, I wasn't even hungry. It happens to the best of us, right? And that exact moment highlights a really, really crucial difference we need to get our heads around. See, on one hand, you've got actual physical hunger. That's pretty simple. It's just your body's fuel gauge saying, hey, time to fill up the tank. But on the other hand, you have cravings. And cravings, well, they're a totally different beast. They're more about your mind. It's this super specific, really urgent desire for one particular food. And it's usually triggered by feelings or something you saw, not an actual empty stomach.
And what do we usually crave? I mean, let's be real. It's rarely a broccoli floret, right? It's usually what scientists call hyper-palatable foods. Now, that's just a fancy term for snacks that are, and I mean this literally, engineered to be almost impossible to resist. They've got this perfect storm of sweetness, saltiness, and richness that just hijacks our brain's reward centers. And that leads us right into how our brain actually works.
So let's look at what's actually going on in our brains. It's fascinating. When we eat one of those hyper-palatable foods, it just lights up our brain's reward system. A little hormone called dopamine gets released, and that feels good. It's a jolt of pleasure. And our brain, which is super smart, remembers that good feeling. It learns to connect that specific food with a reward. And boom, that creates this powerful cycle, this loop that just drives us to want it again and again and again. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It kind of sounds like we're just wired to fail, fighting a losing battle against our own brain chemistry. But here's the amazing part. There's a ton of hope. It comes from this idea, summed up perfectly by the author Charles Duhigg. Once you diagnose the cue, the routine, and the reward, you gain power over it. Just understanding that loop, that's where you get your power back. And that idea right there, that's our pivot point.
So how do we actually use that power? Well, I can tell you what it's not about. It's not about gritting your teeth and just trying to have more willpower. It's about being smarter than that ancient part of your brain. So in this next section, we're going to explore how you can actually hack your environment to make the healthy choice the easy choice. I'm talking almost effortless.
The big idea here has a cool name. It's called choice architecture. Now, it sounds kind of academic, but the concept is super simple. It's all about designing your surroundings to gently nudge you toward better decisions. So instead of trying to force yourself to do something, you just rig the game so the better option is also the easier option. It's subtle, but trust me, it is incredibly powerful. And you want to see this in action? Okay, check out this amazing case study from Google's offices. They didn't ban M&Ms or anything dramatic. Nope, they just made them a little bit harder to get to. And look at these results. Just moving the snacks from 6 feet away to 17 feet away, that tiny bit of extra effort cut how many snacks people grabbed by 40%. And then they put the candy in opaque jars instead of clear ones. That plays on something called salience bias, which is really just a fancy way of saying out of sight, out of mind. And that one change cut 3.1 million calories in just 7 weeks. I mean, wow, that's a masterclass in choice architecture. So look, the crucial point here is this. Stop trying to fight your brain head on. It's exhausting. Don't rely on willpower alone because we all know that runs out. Instead, I want you to start thinking of yourself as a designer. Become the architect of your own environment. Make the good stuff visible and easy to grab, and hide the other stuff away. Make it inconvenient.
All right, so we've tricked out our environment to work for us, not against us. Now let's get into the fun part, the snacks themselves. In our final section, we're going to cover the art of smart snacking. I'm going to give you a practical toolkit you can use to make choices that are not just healthy, but actually satisfying.
There's a great little framework for this called power snacking, and it's all about being more mindful and intentional. It's so simple. Before you grab a snack, you just pause and ask yourself 4 quick questions. First, when? Think about when you actually feel hungry between meals. Second, why? Are you really hungry, or are you maybe just bored or stressed? Third, what? What kind of texture or taste will actually hit the spot right now? And finally, how much? What's a good portion to get you to your next meal?
And a perfect power snack? It often looks something just like this. And I want you to notice something really important. This isn't just about being healthy in a boring way. It's about being genuinely satisfying. You get that awesome crunch from the veggies and then the smooth, creamy dip. Hitting those different sensory notes, that's one of the big secrets to feeling really happy with your choice.
And you have so many great options to choose from. Think of this as your little cheat sheet for cravings. If you need that crunch, go for some raw veggie sticks, a handful of nuts, or an apple. If you're craving something creamy, try some yogurt or hummus. The key is to match a healthy choice to what you're actually in the mood for. When you do that, you're so much more likely to feel satisfied and not go looking for something else 5 minutes later.
And finally, it's so important to remember that smart snacking doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It's all part of a bigger picture. Things like drinking enough water, because thirst can feel a lot like hunger, or prioritizing sleep. That's huge for regulating hunger hormones. Getting some movement in can crush cravings too. And maybe the most important thing of all, start small. Please, don't try to change everything overnight. One tiny, consistent change is always more powerful than some big, dramatic overhaul that just doesn't stick.
So, I want to leave you with this one final thought. Whether you realize it or not, your environment, your kitchen, your desk at work, even your car, it is already shaping your choices every single day. The only question is, are you ready to be the one in the driver's seat? Are you ready to start shaping it to serve your goals? Because that power is 100% in your hands. Thanks so much for joining me.